and welcome to this edition of Candid Conversations. I'm your host, Cynthia Maxie Milton, and this is a show where we aim to inform you, inspire you, and enlighten you. And I'm so happy to have in the studio with me today a history maker. You know, the month of February, we celebrate Black History Month. Those people of African American descent who have made a mark on history in America, for African Americans and for America in general. And I'm so happy to have today one of Jackson, Mississippi's great history makers. He broke the glass ceiling in politics by becoming Jackson's very first African American mayor. Welcome to Candid Conversations, Mayor Harvey Johnson Jr. How are you?
I'm fine, Cynthia.
To Candid Conversations.
Thank you.
So I still call you Mayor.
Yeah, that's okay.
Because you were our first African American mayor, so you'll always be Mayor Johnson to me.
I get that.
And like I said, we're so glad to have you here in the studio, and it's so appropriate to have you here during the month of Black History, which is American history, by the way.
Well, I thank you for the opportunity to be here.
Now, let's talk a little bit about your history, because I think you're most known for being the first African American mayor of Mississippi's capital city.
Yes.
And we know our strong history in civil rights and what that meant. But I want people to know more about you. You hail from Vicksburg, Mississippi. You grew up there. You were kind of what I call the special babies. You were a later life baby for your dad.
Yes.
So tell me about your start in the River City.
Well, as you said, I grew up in Vicksburg, and just can't say enough about the foundation that growing up gave me. As you said, I was born during the latter part of my dad's life. He was 52 when I was born. And so I've always been around old folk. I tell people that, his brothers and sisters. And so I have a great appreciation for the wisdom that our elders have, and especially the wisdom that they departed on me. I was the only child. Stayed on a block that was very interesting. Vicksburg is a very interesting place, as you well know, in terms of the black-white separation of neighborhoods. On the very street I was raised on,
which is Speed Street.
Speed Street. Our block was the only block that was where blacks resided on the whole entire street. Every other block was white. Our block, of course, was at the bottom of the hill where all of the rain and all of that came. But went to school at Temple High,
which I have heard so much about, because I hail from Vicksburg, Mississippi as well.
Yeah.
And I used to hear, the people over our choir and at our church talk about those Temple Buccaneers, and
Well, that's a story in itself. I'm very proud of the school. The school only stayed around about 13 years as the name of the school. It was named after a black educator, Ms. Rose A. Temple.
Right.
And during the time of integration, the decision was made to take away names. And the Rose A. Temple at the time became, I believe, North Vicksburg High School. And then there was a South Vicksburg High School where the white students attended prior to integration. And so the name disappeared, and that was very unfortunate. In our opinion, it was an effort to wipe out part of our history, part of our culture. And so people really rally around Temple, rally around the fact that we were Buccaneers, and we won football championships, basketball championships, band competitions. From Vicksburg High School, we were around 13 years, but we have 3 black mayors who came out of Vicksburg High School during those 13 years. We had at least one general, several colonels, and we're very proud of our heritage. Very proud.
Name some of those folks. So, is it General Creer?
General Creer.
Robert Walker who was the first African American mayor of Vicksburg, Mississippi.
Mayor George Flaggs, who's mayor right now, and of course me are the 3 mayors, and then General Creer. We also have Colonel Terrell, Benny Terrell, who's there now. Out of that group, Colonel Jimmy Bosley is also, who last I heard was working at the Pentagon. And so the students there during that segregated period got a great foundation, not only academically but socially, and I guess more important than that, the will to aspire to come out of this segregated system that we're in, and to show that we could be just as good as anybody else. We received just as good of an education. Our teachers were dedicated. They served as mentors to us, and so we're very proud of that. I played basketball, ran track, played in the band. We went to, a group of us ended up going to Tennessee State University, which is kind of unusual. My wife and I were just talking about that the other night. Maybe 9 or 10 of us out of one class decided to go to Temple. Of course, we were right near Alcorn, Jackson State. Go to Tennessee State. We were right there near Jackson State and Alcorn, but somehow we ended up at Tennessee State University. After that, I went to grad school, went to the Air Force, served in the Air Force, was commissioned as a second lieutenant, left the Air Force as a captain, and came.
What drew you to the military? I'm just curious.
During the time that I was in school, I graduated in 1968. From 64 to 68 was the height of the Vietnam conflict. And that was a big push, let me say, in Vicksburg to draft and recruit people to go into the military. So in my mind, I had the option of going into ROTC and going in the military as an officer, or being drafted. And so I decided to go in as an officer, go through the ROTC program. And I'm glad I did. It was a great opportunity for me to mature, my wife too, as well as to gain some of the managerial skills that I needed later on in life. So it was a good decision.
That was that planning mind of yours at work in the early age.
Well, I guess so. And let me just say this too, in terms of being at Tennessee State. This being Black History Month, and I didn't know this until after I left, but 2 of the commanders, the professional officers who were over the ROTC detachment, were members of the Tuskegee Airmen. And I didn't know that until, Colonel Ball and Colonel Cox were both members of the 99th Squadron of the Tuskegee Airmen. So I got a chance to rub shoulders with them, not knowing their significance in history at the time, but very, very good men, both of them.
I think it's notable, as you said, the people who came out, 3 mayors out of a 13-year period that it was Temple. Was there something special that you think you all got with the teachers? Was it something in general among students in Vicksburg? Why do you think you had so many mayors and leaders come out of that short frame of time at that school?
Well, no doubt it was the teachers. I mean, the teachers, the coaches, the administrators who really took at heart this whole notion of training young people for the future. And we didn't appreciate, I don't think, the challenges that lay ahead of us in terms of trying to make contributions in society. But they knew, and they equipped us with the kind of skills that we would need later on in life. We didn't realize it at that time. We just thought that they were, we just had to learn English the right way, diagram sentences, and do Shakespearean plays and all of the other things, and take trigonometry and geometry and algebra. But all of that was preparing us to have the discipline to move forward and to be successful in life.
I can relate to some of that. I went to Vicksburg High School. I had one teacher in particular, William Sheriff, who was so hard on me. I would make C's, and I knew I was I'm not trying to be conceited, but I was always a good writer. And I knew I would read, some of my classmates would get B's and get A's, and I would read their papers. And I confronted them, and he said, yeah. He said, because you can do better, and you need to do better.
Yeah.
And I just thought, that isn't fair. But when I got to college, I was so grateful for that extra push because I was prepared for a field in communications.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some say a pretty good writer to this day. We want to hear much more about your career and your path. You got us up to where you were in the Air Force, and then you started, you get out into real life. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll continue your story. We're talking to Jackson, Mississippi's first African-American mayor, Harvey Johnson Jr. Stay tuned. There's much more to come.
Are you dreaming of becoming an entrepreneur, but you're not sure where or how to start? At Entrepreneurs Academy 101, our online program will guide you step by step on how to start and grow your own business. We offer courses such as how to write a business plan, how to create a budget, and so much more. Our online training program is designed for you to learn at your own pace, and there's no set order to complete this program. Because our academy is online, you have the choice to learn with a group, with friends, or individually. Upon completion of the entire curriculum, you will receive a certificate of achievement to acknowledge that you have completed the training needed to become a successful entrepreneur. So enroll today to design the life that you love. Contact your entrepreneur coach, Brenda Myers, at 601-672-0695 or visit our website at www.entrepreneursacademy101.com for more information.
Okay, bad timing. Thought my phone was down, and it isn't. I'm sorry, folks. It's live, so things happen. So I'm going to try to turn it down again. So, sorry for the interruption. But you are watching Candid Conversations, as you see, live here at the We Believe Digital Studios. And I'm so honored to have in the studio this morning a history maker for the state of Mississippi and for the nation, the Honorable Harvey Johnson Jr., who was Jackson, Mississippi's first mayor, who is sharing his journey with us, his keys to success, and also we're going to have a part 2 where he talks about what he'd like to see for Jackson's future. So, Mayor, you talked to us about your high school journey, your early years in Vicksburg, and then you went into the Air Force. Can you continue and tell us more about your story?
Yes, I went into the Air Force. I was commissioned. I attended grad school at the University of Cincinnati, and I received my commission as a second lieutenant there. From there, I went to the island of Crete in Greece and spent 2 years there, me, my wife, and my son. Wonderful time. I still have an affinity for Greek food and learned how to cook a few dishes, by the way. Got out of the Air Force, and I thought I would be going to somewhere like Cincinnati, where I'd gone to school, and maybe work for a city manager there as an assistant personnel officer, department head or something. But I came home and I was talking to my dad, who, by the way, had a second grade education, and he said to me, asked me what I was going to do, and I told him that I would probably be searching for a job out of state. And he said, well, why don't you go over to Jackson and look for a job? And so I came to Jackson and literally knocked on the door of the personnel director at the city of Jackson and said, I have a master's degree in political science. I'm looking for a job. Can you help me? And
so your first attempt of employment outside of the military was with the city of Jackson?
Yes, it was. And because my dad, who had a second grade education, had the good sense, the wisdom to tell me to go to Jackson instead of trying to go off to Cincinnati or St. Louis or somewhere. But I'm sure that his ulterior motive was to make sure that he kept his son and his grandson close to home. But anyway, I didn't, this person told me that she didn't have a job for me, but she sent me to the R&D Center, Mississippi Research and Development Center, which was the economic development and planning arm for the state of Mississippi, similar to what the Mississippi Development Authority does now. And she sent me not there directly, but to one of Governor Waller's assistants, a guy named George Dale, who later became our Treasury person. So Mr. Dale sent me to the R&D Center, and then that's where I got interviewed and was hired in 1972 as a community planner, and spent some time there got interested in helping smaller communities, helped write a grant that allowed us to visit small towns, providing them with technical assistance. There were about 7 black mayors in the state of Mississippi at that time, and that was sort of our target group. Then before the grant was actually funded, I got selected as a National Urban Fellow, and so I went to Washington, D.C., assigned to an assistant secretary there in Washington for about a year, came back to Jackson, worked a little bit more at the R&D Center, and then founded a nonprofit called the Mississippi Institute for Small Towns, or MIST. And our focus was primarily on small towns, working with black mayors throughout the state. Did that for a number of years. While I was in D.C., though, I enrolled in a doctoral program for public administration, and was taking courses in that program while I came back to Jackson. Part of that requirement in that program was to list out your career goals and your personal goals. And at that time, 1976, I decided that one of my career goals would be to serve people in a political office. I didn't know what political office would be, but I was intrigued with government, the workings of government, what government could do for people, what government had a role in making sure that the people who were less fortunate got their rights, got their dues. So, I ran for office in 1985. I'm going back now to during the time of the nonprofit. I ran for office in 1985. That was the year that we first got the mayor-council form of government. So I ran for the council. I lost. And I was told that, I probably need to move out of town because after losing that election, I probably would never get elected to anything else. I ran for mayor in 1993, lost again. And in 1997, I was fortunate enough for the people to elect me as mayor of the city of Jackson. I had to first go through the Democratic primary, ran against the incumbent. There were 4 or 5 other people in the race, and I ran and got over 50% of the votes without a runoff. So that's how I got into politics and how I got into the mayor's office.
This says a lot for perseverance and not listening to people, naysayers.
Well, I think to a large extent, voters appreciate perseverance. They see that you really want to do what you say you want to do, and they feel that they need to give you an opportunity to do that.
Very good. Well, when we come back, we'll continue our conversation with Harvey Johnson Jr. and talk to him about his step onto the pedestal of history as Jackson's first African-American mayor. You're watching Candid Conversations with Cynthia, Maxie, Milton. Stay tuned for more.